Hi and welcome to this video. So in one of my most recent live streams, we composed a World of Warcraft-like track. And imagine when you get through the gates of, for example, Stormwind, you have this little intro music kicking in of the location. So we wanted to come up with something like this, which is approximately like a minute long. And actually there's a funny story because I had the pleasure to meet Jason Hayes, the original composer of World of Warcraft. And I met him on the games convention in Leipzig, probably like a few hundred years back. And I was very young, very nervous, but he's one of the kindest guys ever because he answered all of my questions. He explained a lot of things and how he approached the soundtrack for World of Warcraft, and that was an absolutely awesome day, and we hang out in the evening, so it was really a pleasure to meet him, and that's why I wanted to do let's say a little tribute to him. And this is also the reason why you will find some similar patterns to the World of Warcraft soundtrack. So let's get into this. Okay, so let's listen to the track first. So let's talk strings first. What I've used was nucleus strings for all of these, and what I basically used was the spiccato patches here and the spiccato patch and two tremolo patches. I want to separate the high and the low tremolo that is going on in this section. Let's quickly take a look here. So I basically wanted to separate these out. And there's nothing special going on. It's just a typical driving, let's say, role-playing game rhythm, adventure rhythm. And towards the end, it builds up more and more. So let's take a listen to this section here. And as you can hear, the rhythm of the strings support the choirs towards the end. Okay, so that's for the string section. We will go through the mixing and the mastering process later on. So let's play you the brass. What I'm using here is the trombones of Junk XL, and I did a little bit of a combo patch. I mentioned this a few times in a few previous videos and also during my live streams that I love to use these as combo. I call them combo patches because I layer the marcato, the staccatissimo, and the sustain patches, and then I can just play stuff like. So I don't need to fiddle around with key switches and quickly have access to all kinds of articulations from within one patch. I also used Caspian trombones, also the Caspian French horns, and the trumpets here. So let's listen to the brass section or some parts of the brass section here. And also I used some dark block chords for the trombones here in that section. So in general, I don't care how many trombones are playing right now. It should be around 50 or something. I don't care. It's just a big sound. It's a huge sound. And if you mix it decently well into the track, it just gives the track that kind of like royal and mighty heroic feeling. You got the focus on the choir and have the trombones doing all the mighty work. Okay, so let's hop over to the woodwinds, and I have used the staccatissimo patch of the Nucleus woodwinds. It's the full ensemble. Then we have a piccolo flute going on in the middle section here, because I just wanted to give it that nasty sound at this point here. And that, let's listen to the full thing here. So I've used this piccolo flute to give it a little bit of a nasty feeling on top of the trumpets, and this is something what you typically hear in Lord of the Rings, for example. Okay, so next up is a little bassoon patch to support the strings and the brass a little bit. So this is very simple. Let's listen to the full thing. Just a little bit of a different texture. Okay, percussion time. So what I used here is the Hans Zimmer low booms. I will play you the patches in a moment. What I've used here is Dagu by Orchestral Tools. It's a very amazing library, Chinese theater drums, but they have a very distinct character. I really love them. We have Damage 2 going on, and we also have Pandora timpanis. And I really love Pandora because, or Symphonia 4, because you have time-synced patches, and you can decide if you want to have them like 4 beats, 6 beats, or whatever. They are always in time. When you have, for example, a crescendo going, it will be always on time. It saves you a lot of time to mess around with the starting points, or even rendering the track and then looking where, you know, that the highest dynamics and the hits are. So let's listen to the percussion section here and these different parts in the intro. So you hit Dagu and Pandora 4. And then you have the Hans Zimmer low booms coming in. Just very subtle. And this is what I mean. You just simply hit, if I just click that here, you simply set up the roll, define it for like 6 beats. And since we are in 6/8, it's just right in time. So later on, we have Damage 2 coming in here in this section. That's basically it for the percussions. Now let's head into the choirs, and we used Oceania 2 by Performance Samples. And let me just play you the beginning, and this is probably one of these parts that reminds you of some of the parts in the World of Warcraft soundtrack. So let's listen to this. So it's just random syllables. I don't actually care what choirs are singing as long as it's not a track that's featuring the choir, meaning that you have to really understand the lyrics, because the main part I'm always looking for is that it sounds good. This is the only thing that matters. It may be a funny Easter egg, but it's not necessary, I find, to create a great sounding track. So let's listen to what is happening here later on. And the choir in general is just, the women are an octave above from the men, but I just wanted to sing them the same full unison choir. It's not really unison, but you have like this, the arrangement towards the end. Let's listen to them separate. Let's listen to the man first here. And this is what the women doing here. So it's stacked, you know, upon each other, all these notes. There's like 6 notes on top of each other, but I just wanted to sound it, you know, huge. So okay, so that's it for the choir. So actually this next track should belong to the percussion section. So this is just cymbal rolls. We can listen to this. I've used Pandora or again Symphonia 4 for this. And let's listen to how these sound here. And this is the same procedure. You just have to set up, you know, we are in kind of, we are in 6/8. So you just... You just define them for one measure and then for one bar. So it's kind of like nice to look at this. Really love it. And so you can quickly set up 6 beats, 8 beats, 3 beats. So you're never really tied to any time signature or anything. You're just completely open to do whatever you want. Okay, so I used this for the cymbals. And then last but not least, we have a little, I named these wrong here, but we used a little Celeste patch for the very end. You hardly hear this, but I just wanted to have this inside the track. And just wanted to give it some kind of like a, you know, some kind of a, like an exciting feeling or something that puts you on pressure or anything, just for that middle part. Very subtle in the background. Okay, last but not least, let's quickly go through the mixing and mastering process. So please keep in mind that we did this in 2 live streams. So we approximately had like 6 to 7 hours of time to create this, to write this track. So let me just play you the parts and then we just check out what we did here. So basically I applied a little bit of reverb, EQ, and it just dips out a little bit of these around 4K frequencies to avoid a little bit of that scratchy noise that is happening when you layer a lot of notes from an ensemble patch. So just very subtle. Then we have another instance of virtual mix rack, and I just wanted to compress the entire section to, you know, compress all of these sections. As you can see in the mixer here, we compressed all of these, but we'll go through that later because I want to have not too many dynamics going on, because I want to have this track mighty and I just want to have some control, some individual control by gluing all these individual parts together and then being able to raise the volume so I don't have too much standing out dynamics going on. Let's listen to this without. So again, very subtle. And then we have a little bit of air EQ going on to just put a little bit of shimmer on the strings. And I really want them to cut through in this track, so that's why it sounds a little bit maybe too much, but inside the track it makes sense to me. And also we used 7th Heaven Reverb for this. I just wanted to use this plugin because it's just like $69. You get some really great reverb. And what I did here was using the Boston Hall with a mix level to like something like minus 5 dBs or something like 45%. Without, it sounds like this. So also very subtle. Okay, let's hop over to the brass here. And the same is going on. I just wanted to compress them. Nothing else, doing no sound changing elements like EQ or something, just compressing them. Again, just using it to glue all these parts together a little bit more. The same goes on. We have a little bit of 7th Heaven reverb on this, but we used a different hall. And the reason why we did this, because I just wanted to simply have the brass sounding a little bit more mighty than the strings and a little bit further away. Of course, we had to reduce the mix level because the hall is bigger. So let's listen to how this sounds without. So again, very subtle, but I just wanted to have it a different hole than the strings. And we basically did the same for the woodwinds here. We applied nothing because I generally like the sound of woodwinds, and we just applied a little bit of reverb. And again, we went back to the Boston hole that I've used on the strings, but I put a little bit more wet level onto them because they are sitting a little bit further away than the strings, but not as far as the brass. So they sit in between the brass and the strings. So that's why I basically added a little bit of more wet ratio than the strings. So let's listen to the woodwind section here. Okay, so that's it. And we have the percussions, and we have again compressor going on here. This is hard. This is on the limit, but I just wanted it to sound really dirty. We could maybe just reduce it a little bit, but and what I did behind the compressor, because I just wanted to balance these instruments sort of, and then put a little bit of that dip here around 200. So this is how it sounds without. So you kind of dip out a little bit of that, let's say, the melodic or sounding or the tone producing elements on this entire section by dipping out these 200. This is something that works all the time, mostly all the time on all kinds of percussion sections. You dip out that kind of like tonal section of the drums. But still pretty aggressive. Okay, so finally the mastering part. We have a Drummer S73 going on. Again, let's listen to, let me do it like this, and let's get rid of all of these and turn them on one after another. So this is the Drummer compressor. This is everything without first. So we just turn this thing on here. So it again glues all of these sections together a little bit. Okay, so the next thing we have going on here is OTT. A little bit of OTT is never wrong. So let's listen first without and then turn this thing on here. Generally, I just dip in a little bit more or dip out a little bit of these middle frequencies here, put in a little bit more of the low frequencies and some emphasis on the high dynamics here. And this is how it sounds. It's also very subtle. There's just a gain increase of -7 dB, of 0.7 dB. And the depth is just around 10%. Just had to look to the screen a little bit more close. Forgot to turn on my glasses. So... yeah, this is how it sounds. Okay, the next thing we put on here is Gulfoss, and this thing's pretty amazing. I'm not really sure how it exactly works, but it kind of like takes attention or pays attention to missing frequencies inside the track and kind of like increases them or increases these and decreases other annoying frequencies. So I put it to like a more or less decent level here. Feels like the mix is a little bit more balanced. Could be maybe a little bit less high frequencies, but that's also a matter of taste, I think. And last but not least, we have, or not last but not least, but we have a limiter going on. And of course, at the end, it really dips out a lot of these dynamics here. But I feel that it still sounds okay. And I really love the invisible limiter because it never sounds really like as it distorts the track, even though there is a lot going on here. So let's listen to a little bit of that part here. Okay, so we have one more plugin. Please keep in mind that the Restream plugin is just used to capture my audio stream from Studio One. But what I want to talk about right now is the Oxford Inflator, and it's actually like an harmonic overtone distortion plugin. What it does, and when you use it after or behind the limiter, it adds a little bit of additional punch to the track. I can't live without this plugin, so let's listen to how it sounds without. So you can clearly hear the difference between this. It just sounds a little bit louder than without. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough on how to create music in the style of World of Warcraft. I would be also really happy if you give this video a thumbs up or even subscribe to my channel, just in case if you haven't already. If you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to use the comment section below. Did you like this video? What other game soundtracks you would like to have covered? And thank you for watching, and hopefully see you on the next video. Bye.